Ephesians 4 verse 7 says this, "But to each one of us grace has been given as Christ apportioned it." There's a real gear change here in verse 7 to what came before. I mean, most particularly in verse 6, we saw that God is the Father of all, in all, through all, over all. And then yet here in verse 7, but to each one of us. So it's gone from the unity to everyone to each individual Christian believer. And again, the previous verses had this stress on one. All united, all in one sense the same. And yet here in verse 7, we see the difference. But to each one of us, each individual difference, grace has been given as Christ apportioned it, differently. So we see here that unity, the unity we have, doesn't mean uniformity. Christians aren't all churned out on a conveyor belt. We're all stamped into the same mould and then sent off into the world. No, Christians are different. There is a wonderful variety and difference amongst us. Now that is true from our backgrounds, our interests, our tastes and all those kind of things. But particularly the focus here in verse 7 is the grace that has been given to us. Now the grace Paul's talking about here isn't the saving grace. In that sense, every Christian believer has and experiences the same saving grace. But I think the grace that is being talked about here is the grace of service, the grace of spiritual gifts. We've all received the same saving grace, but we all have different serving grace. And here we see that it is Jesus who gives it. He apportions it as he sees fit. He gives every single one of us gifts in which we are to serve the church. Now, this is a huge topic, the spiritual gifts. One thing just very briefly to mention is that it is a huge concept, and we find kind of 5 lists in the New Testament, all which contain different ones. Over 20 odd are mentioned by name. So here we see these gifts are different, and Jesus gives us different gifts to use to serve him, to serve the church in different ways. So the encouragement for us today is to say, well, how can you, uniquely you, how can you serve others with the grace that has been given to you today? Not the grace that you wish you had or that you would rather envious of someone else having, but no, the grace that Jesus has given you. How can you use that to serve people today? Maybe pray that. Say, Lord, show me how I can serve someone, serve the church today in the gift that you have given. Let's pray that now.